there had been rumours for a few days, but believe it or not, it has happened. Pochettino has been sacked by Chelsea. We're going to split this video into two parts. We're going to talk about what feels a little bit fishy when it comes to Pochettino leaving, as to why he's gone amicably. We're going to dive into that. And then in the second part of this video, we're going to talk about the runners and riders. We've got 5 names here. We're going to talk about all of them and make a decision on who we think is most likely to take the reins at Chelsea. And it will be the 6th manager in about 2 years. Kweku, if you don't know, Kweku is a fantastic broadcaster, but is a Chelsea fan as well.
For my sins.
And he's also, he's forlorn. He's a little bit upset. Initial reaction then to him going. Were you surprised?
Surprised because it's happened, but if you listen and you read between the lines over the last couple of weeks, press conferences, interviews, something's up. And something was up. And saw the reports maybe I think 3 weeks ago where it's like, things are going well, but Chelsea needs to qualify for Europe if Poch is to stay beyond this season. Oh, right. But it's just, I haven't got another one in me, Jim. I've seen so many managers come and go. Under the previous regime, it worked because we were winning trophies consistently. But it's like, and I'm going to butcher the analogy, but Chelsea are like, other clubs operate like TV shows or series in terms of one season bleeds into another season, and if it's good enough, you renew it for another season. Right. Chelsea are like True Detectives, like an anthology. No season matters to the next season. It's just individual stories, and one season's completely different to the next season. Mauricio Pochettino can finish 3rd and win the Europa League and get sacked. Antonio Conte can win the league one season, win the FA Cup next season, and then get sacked. Ancelotti can win the double and then finish 2nd and then get sacked. Yeah. And I thought we had ended this with this ownership group, but it seems a continuation of Roman Abramovich's era at Chelsea. And it seems like no manager has credit in the bank. They're operating on a net deficit from the beginning. And we're essentially operating in an overdraft, and Pochettino is trying to swim out of that overdraft to try and get to the point where the ownership group are going to give him the control of a club that he can do a lot of positive things at. It's been an interesting 24 hours as a Chelsea fan, but ultimately I think this was the wrong decision.
Yeah. And I guess what you're kind of saying is like, what are the rules here? Because the European football, you've got to get into European football. That again is, maybe I've been watching too much Jurgen Klopp videos at the moment, but like there's a lot of, he talks about it can't be about just getting the trophy. It has to be about everything else and the byproduct of that is trophies. So with Chelsea, I don't care about European football. For me, it's you've gone through a lot of growing pains here, and correctly or incorrectly in terms of the broader future of the club and the intensity of the back end of a season where it's just that little bit calmer for a lot of clubs. You can pick off a few easy 3 points, maybe, right? But from 2024 onwards, Chelsea have been good. Chelsea have been solid, right? Overall, blips along the way. But when you start to put that together, you go, hang on a minute. It feels like something's starting to happen here, which again is why when I see the story come out, when I see the discussions about an end of season review, when I see Pochettino talking about all you need to know is the fact that I went for dinner with Todd Boehly on Friday. That to me says that Todd Boehly is trying to either save a situation or he's setting up, the culling. Because Pochettino goes, Todd, you don't fancy a meal, do you? It doesn't work that way around. It's that way around. Todd Boehly will be setting up that dinner. And the end of season review seems to have taken place. And so then the comments come out and it's an amicable split. It feels like something else is at play here. Either he's not getting the keys for what he wants moving forward in those conversations. For example, Gallagher being sold, Chalobah being sold, which is something that probably just has to be done now because of the mess that they've got themselves into. Yeah. But the other thing that just screams at me, or two things, is one, the possible managers, one being Zerbi, we'll talk about him, but also that Bayern Munich job. Yeah, I think someone's spoken, because the tapping up doesn't exist anymore, because you talk to the representatives and they have a word with you. And I wonder if there has been that approach where they're scrabbling around now, Bayern Munich, which we've seen, and they go, well, who else is knocking about? Well, he might not fancy it, Pochettino at Chelsea, and I think there maybe has been actually quite a calm conversation there where Chelsea maybe weren't totally happy, or Todd Boehly was trying to save the situation, trying to keep him there. But again, it comes back to it being amicable and mutual.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like Chelsea kind of wanted this too.
It sounds like it, and it seems like it, and it's so confusing, and the story will reveal itself in time.
Yeah.
But this is what I do not want to happen. I don't want to see a series of interviews for this job. If you're going to get rid of Pochettino, you have to know who you've got lined up. I don't want to hear about someone flying in to have an interview and it didn't work out, and this person coming and having a chat and it didn't work out. If you're going to sack Pochettino, with the Euros coming up, with the Olympics coming up, a short, truncated pre-season, you need to know who's replacing him. The way that Liverpool knew who was replacing Jurgen Klopp, I know that they went for Amorim initially, and ideally they would have loved Xabi Alonso, but Arne Slot got sorted pretty quickly, and the season ended and they knew who their next manager was for next season. Chelsea need to know who that man is going to be to replace Mauricio Pochettino. Otherwise, all hope is lost, and all the good work that he done towards the back end of the season is undone. Reports now surfacing that the players are unhappy that he was let go. He had built that camaraderie in the dressing room and had got the players on side. A young group of players that are very impressionable, that he had impressed himself on. Like he had made it. Remember the situation with the penalty where it was Nicholas Jackson, Cole Palmer, and Madueke. Poch laid down the law, and the players seem to respect it and respond to it, and Chelsea have been fantastic ever since. Yeah. I just don't understand why this decision has been made. And I talked about credit in the bank before for managers. This board does not have credit in the bank anymore. Yeah. And we are watching this next appointment very, very closely, because it's a very different situation to Hicks and Gillette, because this board is actually putting in money, an extortionate amount of money, trying to get return on investments by, I don't know, selling youth products. But if this next appointment isn't right for Chelsea, we will start to see fans protesting on the streets of Southwest London. It shouldn't happen now. And I'm not going to be out there with my picket mourning the loss of a former Spurs manager. Yeah. But if this next appointment doesn't go right and Chelsea have a disastrous season next year, you will start to see protests from Chelsea fans, because this board has not shown any ability to run a football club. And for me, it's worrying as a Chelsea fan.
And I think the last thing I'll say on the Pochettino thing, again, just seems odd to me, is that you've just got through I know they're a young group, the teething problems of a first year. I think a lot of the criticism wasn't really at Poch. It was at the squad building. It was at the players themselves. It was the lack of leadership. And you'd kind of got to the other side of that. Really, really odd. So let's run through a few names. We'll pick one each along the way. First off, Hansi Flick. Now, one thing I will say when it comes to these names, you've got Pochettino. Like, experience, management is so odd, right? Yeah. In the sense that you are a player, you have one role in life, right? You're a footballer, and then generally you have to straight away be an expert in this new field as a manager, which doesn't make a huge amount of sense, really. And if you look at someone like Unai Emery, he has learned from the failures here and there, and success and experience and quality as a manager, you learn from your failures. And he has come back and is now an unbelievably elite manager who's able to go in and fix a situation and turn a team into a Champions League team from a team that was relegation fodder at one point. So some of these names are young names who've had a couple of seasons. And again, you've got rid of Pochettino to possibly give the job to these guys. Look, they're not in their first season, but Hansi Flick, probably the most experienced of them all, plays great attacking football. Has obviously had, the international thing didn't work. I don't really, not too bothered about that. Solid name as well. Steady pair of hands. Not the worst pick.
No. Hansi Flick screams Roman Abramovich appointment 2013, Like, that's the vibe it gives me. Yeah. Great manager. Maybe reputation slightly tainted as a result of Germany going out of the group stages of the World Cup. But people forget what he did at Bayern Munich in a very short period of time. Won everything. Obviously, some of that was blighted because of lockdown, so we didn't really get to celebrate it. But very, very good manager and very experienced. But what does Hansi Flick bring to the table that Mauricio Pochettino doesn't bring to the table in terms of what they're looking for in terms of manager?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So then you go for, that's your big name.
Yeah.
That's your big solid name, your Pochettino style reputation name. You've then got Ruben Amorim, who of course was linked with the Liverpool job, then had a little flirt with West Ham. That didn't work out as well. Has done brilliant stuff at Sporting. I don't know if you agree with this, I think there's a glamour that a Chelsea manager needs. Like, and ideally he is Latin in some way. And
I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they got to be Italian, or they got to be Spanish,
or Portuguese.
Something like that. It's got to be like, there's got to be some sort of some spice in there, a bit of salsa in there, whatever you want to find. So Ruben Amorim, from that point of view, kind of works. Some people call him like a bit of a mini Mourinho in terms of style of play at times as well. They have got a lot of centre backs. You can play free at the back as well, which is something that Amorim likes to do. Sebastian Hoeneß being a name at Stuttgart, very direct in how they've played. Feels a bit early for him. I think this is the other thing. I think at Chelsea you get eaten up. Potter got eaten alive, and I called it the day he got the job.
I remember.
But it's like, that's not a flex for me. It's just like, that's what you've got to accept what you're stepping into. When Chelsea is different.
And
right?
also this ownership group have been burnt by the fact that they made Graham Potter one of the highest paid managers in the world. And then the compensation they've had to pay out in terms of getting rid of him has been extortionate. So that's the reason why Pochettino only got a 2-year deal. That's part of the issue as well. He wanted more security. Because they gave Graham Potter the keys and they gave him the world. And you look at Hoeneß, for example, done incredible things at Stuttgart, finished ahead of Bayern Munich in the league, which is no mean feat, especially from where he took over. But his contract runs out in 2027. So how much money are you going to pay Stuttgart to get him out of the contract? And so it's the same as so many players down this list. It's a difficult situation right now.
Kieran McKenna, he's the latest to be linked with every job going. Look, phenomenal manager. Has dealt with the spotlight, or certainly been sat next to it with Man United as an assistant. So he understands that big club mentality, I guess, or the spotlight that comes with it.
Well, Jim, as someone who's watched a lot of Championship football, and I've watched Ipswich a lot more than other Championship teams this year, will the style of football that Kieran McKenna plays at Ipswich translate to Chelsea in the Premier League?
So Kieran McKenna will play different ways depending on the team that he's playing against. So able to play in transition quickly, does like to sort of get the build up right and build up from deep and then play through. But there were games, say 2 seasons ago, utterly dominated the ball, utterly dominated the game. This season, there were games when they had less than 50% possession and finished second in the league. So they can do it in different ways. He's a phenomenal manager. I have no doubts about that. But if you really want the Chelsea job, go to Brighton. Go to Brighton, because you'll get your chance. You'll be next in line. Because I think the next manager will be coming from Brighton once again. I think this stinks of they've already paid off Brighton for Zerbi and he's on his way. I might be wrong, and I'm sure that will reveal itself in good time. Roberto Zerbi, no, he's Italian. We've got that in the bank, okay? He's got the dark hair. He's got the ways, and I think he's got enough experience. Yeah. He will be the next Chelsea manager. I can't see how it's not going to be him. They are obsessed with Brighton.
They are. It's just I do not understand Chelsea Football Club at all, because we've tried it with so many different variations of manager. Thomas Tuchel, the experienced mercenary that's got the experience of top clubs and knows how to deal with big personalities, is a big personality himself. They inherited him, I understand, didn't work, got rid of him. Interim manager that you bring in is Frank Lampard. No, you bring in Graham Potter. Graham Potter doesn't work. Graham Potter is this young progressive manager that plays good football, but clearly didn't have the personality for it. Didn't work. Yeah. Interim, you bring in Frank Lampard, ex-legend or Chelsea legend, ex-player. That was a disaster. Yeah. And then you try Poch, who's a kind of happy medium, Premier League proven, managed at the top clubs as kind of a better mediator and can manage upwards a lot better than Thomas Tuchel. That hasn't worked. What profile of manager have they not dealt with now? At this point, 2.5 years into owning the football club, it's insane to me that we're now looking at Brighton yet again, who've already fleeced us for players, for managers, and looking at them for Roberto Zerbi to be the next manager. No disrespect to Zerbi, and if he's the next Chelsea manager, I will back him. But I don't necessarily think that he will be able to work with this board, who are very restrictive in the way they work with managers.
I think you make a great point. We've done a video talking about Liverpool and Arne Slot and it being about, with him, an established manager coming in and going, don't worry about anything else, just coach the team. Yeah. That's what we want you to do. Yeah. And again, we're talking about transfers in and out. It has to be bigger than him, and it has to not totally be about him because, that manager may come and go. For Chelsea, the one thing that you might get with Roberto Zerbi is the fact that Pochettino knows himself maybe a little bit more, right? Yeah. So if you've got the Potter element of it where he kind of came in and was like, I can't believe I'm here kind of thing. That's the feeling we got, right? And it felt like he was faking it a little bit. He was a bit too Southgate and not enough Mourinho, right? Roberto Zerbi is a bit more Mourinho, but this is a step up for him. So I think it will maybe be a humility with him when it's dealing with the higher ups, even initially, let's say, that allows you a decent bit of halfway house in the sense of they will be able to have the power that they want, and he will still have the gravitas, the tactical mind that you want in terms of that person stepping into it. How long that lasts is a different conversation, and Zerbi ultimately is kind of fallen out with the higher ups, unless that's all again a bit of a smokescreen, and they've been paid off in this compensation, and he was always going to go to Chelsea. I just can't see it being anyone but him.
I know.
Who do you want?
Personally, I want Thiago Motta. I want to. We remember how great of a player that he was, and what he's done at Bologna is incredible. Qualified, I know there's still a game left in Serie A, but already qualified for the Champions League next season. Heavily linked with Juve, and I think that's where he's going to end up going. But a manager with a clear tactical philosophy. Forget the 2-7-2 where he's talking about his goalkeeper playing in midfield. His team doesn't play like that. But he has got a clear identity in terms of how he wants the team to play. Got enough gravitas in terms of the players can ask their parents, "Oh, do you remember Thiago Motta? Yeah, he was a brilliant footballer." So not too far removed from the game, still relatively young. Somebody like that, I would accept at Chelsea in terms of coming in and changing it. Got that Latin side of it as well. But apart from that, man, I'm lost. I'm hearing Cesc Fabregas being linked, assistant manager at Como. I love Cesc, one of my favourite Chelsea players of all time. Come on, what are we doing?
Right, guys, help Kweku out. He's lost, so find him a manager. Who do you want? But who will it be? Let us know.